Do you ever just like have moments where you remember something completely asinine? I'm currently thinking of this kid I went to elementary school with, and he sang like the "Hello Mother, Hello Father, Hello Mother, Hello Father," but like that dog commercial eventually started using it. But I knew the song before then because of this kid singing it at the talent show. Hey Hodies, welcome back to my channel. My name is Miss Tom, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today, it's going to be Victoria Beckham Beauty versus the makeup that I already owned. If you are new to my channel, hello and welcome. My channel is all about loving my makeup collection as it currently is, but still occasionally reviewing new things because I love beauty and I'm into it. But what I always wanted to do is to consume beauty and communicate to you that you don't always need the thing, even the things that I review and the things that I like. And today's video concept is kind of a reminder of that. So if that kind of content sounds good to you, I would love to have you subscribe. Make sure you like this video, and I'm also on patreon.com if you would like to support me there. There's no pressure to. I'm just so happy that you are here and watching and chatting and liking. That's the best that I can ask for. This isn't the first time I've done one of these, but if you are new here, I always like to pit whatever is new versus things I already have. What I'm not trying to do is to offer you a dupe. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is remind you that the makeup that you have is beautiful makeup and is gonna work just as well, or if not better, than maybe the thing that you're pining over or the brand that you're pining over. And that's what I'm set out to do whenever I do video concepts like this, because I know whenever I was just exclusively a beauty YouTube consumer and not someone who made beauty content, that I could get swept up in the feelings of another person recommending a product that I felt like that would be better than any of the things I have. And this is just a reminder that it's not. That's not to say that some of the Victoria Beckham stuff that I'm going to talk about today isn't beautiful makeup and really excellent makeup, but it's also, I have a lot of beautiful makeup. And I bet if you're watching this video, you have makeup that's really beautiful and high performing that can satisfy a lot of these things, especially if you were interested in any of these things from Victoria Beckham. Even if you were pining over something from another brand or even a drugstore brand, your makeup, it's probably gonna do it just as well. Let's get into it. Let's start with the complexion products, which I don't normally do. Let us start with primer. So from Victoria Beckham, which I'm gonna be putting on the left half of my face, this is the Victoria Beckham X Augustinus Binders. The Victoria Beckham by Augustinus Bader Cell Rejuvenating Priming Moisturizer. And I'm going to put that up against the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. So let me tell you the qualities that I have found by using this primer for some time. So I've had 4 months experience with the Victoria Beckham products. My review is really gonna be on Friday, but I'm gonna tell you why I'm comparing it to the Bobbi Brown specifically. This is a very nice primer that it seems that its sole purpose is to prep your face for a flawless application. And I feel very similarly about the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. If you know, you know. But if you are new, I use this every time I'm trying a new foundation for the first time because I find it so reliable, and it's just something that's really beautiful that preps your skin for makeup. So if both of these things can do that, I have been really into oil-based primers recently because I've been really enjoying the glowy look, but both of these really preserve the look of the foundation that goes on top of it. Like, so whatever the finish of that foundation promises is the finish that you get. So if it's a matte foundation or if it's a luminous foundation, you're gonna get the foundation's performance. So that's they're just like really, really great for prepping your skin. So I'm going to do a pump of the Victoria Beckham on this side, and then I'll zoom you in to show you my skin. I feel that this primer from Victoria Beckham is one of the things that I think most people, because of the price point, even if they will try things from Victoria Beckham, have an issue pulling the trigger on, which I get because I think, myself included, I see so many people trying it and say that it's really good. Let me zoom you in just so you can see the difference in the skin. This has skincare on it. I did my skincare about an hour or so ago. And then this side has the Victoria Beckham primer. The best way I can describe it is it feels moisturized. It feels really smooth, but not the kind of smooth from like a pore filling primer. Like, I don't think it has any of those qualities, but what it does have is just something, it kind of just plumps your skin a bit. Can you, like, I know it's like such a hard thing to catch on camera. Also, I nicked, when I was shaving my eyebrows today, I fully nicked this spot, so I apologize. I don't think it adds any glow or anything. It does minimize pores a little bit. I would say it has a slight airbrushing quality. Like, I just think this side of my skin just looks a little bit better. So it definitely like gets your skin ready for makeup. And so then I'm gonna apply the Bobbi Brown. So the Bobbi Brown is much thicker. It is like this gel lotion consistency, whereas the Cell Rejuvenating Primer feels more like a serum. It's not even like a moisturizer. I would say it feels more like a serum or like a very, very light lotion, not something super thick. The Bobbi Brown is much thicker in consistency than the Victoria Beckham. But overall, I feel like they perform a very similar task. And even though the Bobbi Brown is expensive, it is not as expensive as the Victoria Beckham. The thing is, I'm fairly certain that the collaboration with Augustinus Bittner is the reason that costs so much. Because while Victoria Beckham Beauty is expensive, I don't think if Victoria Beckham and her team formulated without Augustinus that their version of a primer would be as expensive, because Augustinus Bittner has its own skincare line, and that skincare line is very expensive. Okay, I'm gonna zoom you back in so we can compare the sides. They do something fairly similar. I would say maybe the Victoria Beckham smooths the skin a little bit more, but I think they both really give you that plumping feeling. And maybe the Bobbi Brown is just like stays a slight bit tackier. Like there's just a little bit of tack there, which makes sense, because one of the selling points that doesn't get talked about a lot with the Bobbi Brown is that it's supposed to be a primer that gives you better grip. That's something that I learned from a brand rep whenever I was working at Sephora, but it's not like one of the main selling points. Like the selling points are the antioxidants in it, and that it's like a very nice just base for your makeup, but it also has that too, whereas I don't feel like the Victoria Beckham boasts that, and it's not as tacky. But I wouldn't say if you like use the Milk Hydro Grip primer, it's not that tacky, it's not as tacky, but I think it just keeps a little bit of its tackiness. I'm gonna apply some base products that Victoria Beckham doesn't have a solution for yet. I'm gonna put on foundation, concealer, and some cream contour, and then we will come back with more Victoria Beckham, and I'll show you what my complexion products look like on top of both of these primers. For foundation, I'll be using the Haus Labs, and then for concealer, I'll be using the Luminous Silk from Armani, and then the contour I'm gonna be using is the Fenty Cheeks Out Cream Bronzer in the shade Amber. Yeah. So I have contoured, I have applied concealer and foundation, and I'm gonna zoom you in so you can take a look at both sides. So I would say, if I'm being honest, the Bobbi Brown side looks a little more luminous. Not that either side is like incredibly shiny. They both look like a skin finish, but you can see that on the Victoria Beckham side, I almost feel like this looks more blurred than what's happening over here on the Bobbi Brown side. But also under my eyes, you can see that this is just like, this side's like just looks more wet than this side does. I am gonna do a little bit of powder under my eyes. I'm going to be using the Charlotte Tilbury Brightening Under Eye Powder, because Victoria Beckham doesn't have a powder, and I don't want my eyes to get super creasy, but I'm gonna leave everything else unpowdered for now. We will powder the rest of the face later, because I do have some powder products that I would like to apply on top of powder, but I'm just applying this so that my under eyes don't get super creasy, because I've noticed recently if I wait too long, then they like start doing things. Let's move on to blush. So I do have from Victoria Beckham the Cheeky Posh stick in the shade Playground, and here's what that shade looks like. And then when I was looking through my own collection, it's not like the perfect dupe, but I do feel as though it gives me a very similar effect on the cheek. And this is Mimi from Westman Atelier. And so here they are together. And what you can see is, while they both are warm leaning, this is definitely like a little bit warmer. Whenever I put it on the cheeks and blend it out, I feel like they don't really look that different. So let's apply Playground. Okay, and now let's apply Mimi. Okay, I'm gonna zoom you in. So here is Mimi. And then here is Playground. So like I said, this is a little bit warmer and you can see some of like the orangey red tones coming through. And then on this cheek, it more just looks like a flush, like the pink undertones of Mimi kind of maintain. Whereas when you blend this out, you get more of that like reddish tone. Here's a funny thing. So when you're comparing these two items, I do feel like it's fairly comparing like apples to apples. They both have very luxurious packaging. I think both formulas are pretty high performing. I do think that the shade is pretty similar. Whenever it really comes down to it, I just prefer the color of Mimi a little bit more, and I prefer this packaging. This has a magnetic component to it, which I think is luxe. I know that magnets are not like the most environmentally friendly thing to use in packaging. And I kind of like how chunky this is versus the Victoria Beckham. That's like one thing I think whenever even I did my first impressions, while it's all super luxe, well, it's all pretty heavy, there is something about the sizing of some of the Victoria Beckham items where I'm just like left to go, okay. This just feels like more of an experience to me to hold than the Victoria Beckham, but they both are an experience. Like, they're both luxury. They feel luxury. I feel like they both live up to that expectation. It's just that I think Mimi wins out in my heart a little bit more because Mimi is like a very special shade to me. Like, I just kind of like how it doesn't really have orange in it, and I love orange blush, so this is not a con. I just think if I'm going for this kind of blush effect where it's almost like skin toned, I want Mimi. I want Mimi. But I do feel like their formulas are pretty similar. I would say that maybe this is more of a skin finish, and the Victoria Beckham one almost comes off like a little more matte. But the thing is, I feel like with the way I prep my skin and the foundations that I wear, my blush always kind of has this soft glow to it, even if I'm using powder. So, but yeah, neither one of these I feel like is super shiny either, but I do feel like this will show up a little more luminous than this, but I think this would show up matte, and you could get it to show up matte, but I don't think you could really do that with the West Atelier. But both formulas, very stiff, both the kind of formula you can drag onto your skin. It's not gonna lift foundation. They both blend out beautifully. And even whenever I use either one of these, I can draw the blush on both sides of my face and blend out. It's not something that I feel like I have a running time clock. The second I start using it, it's like, it's not that kind of thing. So now I'm going to powder the rest of my face. I'm going to be using the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush powder and some of the Chantecaille Perfect Blur, and then we will come back. Now we're going to talk about bronzer. This is the Victoria Beckham Bronzing Brick, and I have the shade 01, so it's their fairest one. And going up against that is the Tom Ford bronzer in Terra. So the shades of these, they're not like too far off. The Tom Ford is a little bit deeper, and I think it has a little bit of a luminosity to it because it is called like the Soleil Glow bronzer. But what I have kind of found is that pretty comparable, especially with the tools I use. I think if I did a more dense application of bronzer, they wouldn't look as much alike on the skin as I think they do. But I am going to be using the Sonia G Jumbo Bronzing Brush, and this is just the be-all end-all bronzing brush for me. I'm like so happy I have it. So the way this is designed is that this lighter shade is meant to be like tapped on to the high points of your cheeks and your face, and just kind of like give you that little bit of bronze that you would get from the standing in the sun from like up above. And then this one is designed to be more of your bronzer shade. I did tap this on both sides of my face. I don't have anything like that, and honestly, I'm not really sure it does much. So I'm going to apply this like a bronzer on this side of my face. Okay, there's a Victoria Beckham bronzer applied. And now I'm going to use my Sigma switch to kick off the excess powder. And I'm gonna go in with the Tom Ford one on this side. So I have bronzer on both sides of my face. I feel like they're pretty undetectable. Like, these bronzers are both formulas that I feel just like blend out really well and just look really good on the skin. I think both of the shades are more neutral rather than like leaning to orange, yellow, or red, or to gray. Like it seems it's like they sit right in that perfect middle. I do think that the Tom Ford bronzer applies a little bit more. There's just like I think more pigment to it, and it just you can see it a little bit more on the skin. Whereas the Victoria Beckham one, especially for someone of my skin tone, is like the perfect bronzer for people who are afraid to go too hard with bronzer. And that's like a really big complaint for people with very fair skin, that bronzer always shows up really orange on them, or shows up whatever the undertone is more so. That's one thing I will say about this, is that it's one I don't think it's gonna, I think it's gonna look really good on all of my friends who are very fair. And I mean like perhaps even my pastiest, my whitest of white friends. Let's talk about both bronzers. So since they just competed against each other, kind of just like Westman Atelier versus this brand, the packaging is just delightful from both of them. The packaging from Victoria Beckham is like very heavy, very luxe, and this is actually refillable. I don't believe that Tom Ford makes this jumbo size of their bronzer anymore. You can still get the smaller version. But yeah, it's a super luxe experience. I don't find that all Tom Ford products are as enjoyable to hold in your hands as this is. There's something about it having this like rounded top. So I do think both experiences are top notch, but if this was the same size as this, it would be like 3 times the weight that this is. Like this has some serious heft to it. And let's look at the gram count just because we're looking at. So the Tom Ford has 15 grams and then the Victoria Beckham has 9.6 grams. I do believe that this product used to retail for like $127, whereas I believe that this one now retails for $65, but I bought it before they increased the price, so I believe I paid $60 for this. So that's kind of the rundown between the two, but like both are really beautiful products. This isn't doing much more than this can do, even though it has like the 2 tones to it. Let's move on to highlighter. So from Victoria Beckham, I have the Reflect highlighter. That's the name of this shade, and it looks like this. And so I don't know if they'll ever expand the shades. Victoria Beckham is kind of good for that, where they'll be like, here are some shades of one thing, and then you will slowly get them throughout time. So I don't know if there will be shades of that in the future. But the thing in my collection that it most reminded me of is the Westman Atelier Lit Up Highlight Stick. I only have the shade Nectar. So Nectar is more peachy than the Victoria Beckham. The Victoria Beckham is like more gold leaning, but they kind of are the same type of product. They're both like these balmy highlighters with very, very fine micro glitters in it that are super sheeny, and it makes your skin look more wet than like you have highlighter on it. Now, having played with both of these products, my preferred methodology is to tap it on with my finger. So I'm going to warm up some of the product from Victoria Beckham on my ring finger, and I'm just going to tap it into the skin. So I have used this, and like I've done the dragging method. It did lift my foundation when I did it that way. So that's what it looks like. And so I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with the Westman Atelier. See, it's kind of the same effect, because while they have very different tones in the container, they don't show up because that's like not really what the product is designed to do. So for any of my friends who have long hair, you might not like either one of these, because I find that neither one sets down completely. I will say, having had this one for longer and playing with it more, I do think that Westman Atelier has this down a little bit better than Victoria Beckham does. The Westman Atelier one sets a bit more. I'm not saying that it sets completely, like I do still think it keeps its tackiness, but I do think that at the end of the day, I can still see the Westman Atelier highlight stick versus the Victoria Beckham highlighter. And then when you're talking about packaging, I think that Victoria Beckham missed the mark on this packaging. While it is like aesthetically beautiful, it's kind of this weird outlier from the rest of the packaging. And I'm not saying you can't do something different, but like maybe this could have had the tortoiseshell even if you kept this gold, because I do appreciate that it's different enough that whenever I was looking in my drawers, if I was reaching for a blush or a highlight, at least I'd be able to know which one the highlighter was. But yeah, it's like the packaging is not as satisfying as the Westman Atelier. This feels like lighter. Well, I don't have expectations about how heavy this is, because when you look at it, you're like, I don't know what that's gonna feel like when I pick it up. Whenever you pick up this one, it's like, you expect it to be heavier because of the material it looks like it's made out of, but it's like it's not as satisfying. So let's line the eyes first. From Victoria Beckham, I do have two liners. I have one of the sequin ones, and then I also have this one. For the purposes of this video, I'm only going to be using this one. This is the shade Coco from Victoria Beckham. And so the Victoria Beckham liners have two sides. They have a smudger, and then they also obviously have the eyeliner. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to put this in the tight line and the waterline. And then from my eyeliner collection, I'm going to be using Black Coffee from Pat McGrath. I am slowly getting more into eyeliner. I slowly am because I have just been reviewing more of it. So the Pat McGrath eyeliner is much drier feeling than the Victoria Beckham. The Victoria Beckham just kind of like glides on and does exactly what I want it to ask. And this just takes a little bit more time to work up. I think an important thing to keep in mind, this product is much fresher in my collection than this one. This one is a couple of years old. I'm not like, I don't use the most eyeliner. And while I am using more eyeliner recently, I know a lot of people kind of can run through an eyeliner pretty quickly, and that's just like not the way that I typically do my makeup. And something that I like about the Victoria Beckham that you might not like, I have done graphic liner looks with Pat McGrath eyeliners, not this one in particular, but I have done graphic liner looks, and it's kind of the formula that is meant to like stick where you put it. You have some time to buff it out, but the Victoria Beckham one, you have a little bit of... It's weird because there's a little bit of a grungy, blurry quality in the Victoria Beckham. Like I applied like the same amount, but you can kind of tell how the Victoria Beckham, while it's still in my waterline, it also kind of like goes outside of the waterline. And I think the fact that this comes with a smudger is good thing to note, because I think that this eyeliner was formulated with the intention of it having some time to buff out, much more time than the Pat McGrath, but this does stick once it's set. But I would not say it's as long lasting as the Pat McGrath one, but I like both formulas. I would also say that just this one is more impactful. Like, look at the depth of that. And while they're both really deep, like espresso browns, I just feel like the Pat McGrath one is just like not as impactful. Like, look at my eyes. Like, this just feels much more intense. So I will say there's something to people being really excited about this, and I'll elaborate on that more in my final review. But they do the same thing. And I am kind of comparing luxury brands to luxury brands. I'm not someone who really understands the realm of the drugstore. So that's like not what you'll get here. But I assume if you're watching this far and you've kind of caught on to that, I always forget to mention that I don't know a lot about drugstore makeup, and it's not that it's like bad or worse. You know, it's just like a thing that I'm not as interested in. Now we're gonna move on to eye products. So for Victoria Beckham, I have the lid Lustre in the shade Mink. And then on the other eye, I'm going to be using a combo of Smoky Quartz from Charlotte Tilbury and the 52 Degrees Cool Quad from Rowan, and I'll show you how that's gonna work in a second. Let's apply the Victoria Beckham product first. The Victoria Beckham, I've had products that have had like these lids, like I've used these before. It's not quite like, I had one of the Tarte Chrome paints, and this is just, this formula is wild. This formula is just wild, because it feels super creamy when you put it on your finger. And then when you blend, it's just very special. So I'm going to apply this to my eye, and I'm going to zoom you in so you can like really appreciate the sparkle of this product, because I think from afar, it's like not the same thing. I told you that I'll be using 2 products on this eye. So if you watched my first impressions of Victoria Beckham that I posted on Monday, I was really concerned that this was going to be exactly the same as Smoky Quartz. So I'm going to apply Smoky Quartz first before I apply some of the Rowan Quad, so you can see what I'm talking about. It's going to read a little more similar on the eyes than it does in swatches, but just trust me. So obviously I am kind of into these like dark beigey, very sparkly products. So you can just see this has so much more oomph to it than this, and there's a little, like, this has more sparkle to it, the Victoria Beckham. So I have found that whenever I layer this silver shade from the Rowan Quad over top, it adds a little depth and it also gives me more sparkles. But you can't add too much of it because you just want to get more of the sparkle. Oh, do you see what I mean? Ugh. Ugh. So yeah, this has a little bit more coolness to it, but this is a really interesting shade, the shade Mink. It's like, it feels warm and then you like look at it and you're like, wait, but was it cool tone though? My products on the side of my face just don't have the same kind of like tenacity all in one situation. But whenever you zoom out, ultimately it kind of looks the same, right? Like there's like, it doesn't, like obviously this one's like a little bit lighter, but like, it's like kind of the same thing, right? It's kind of the same thing. So it's like, did I really need this to achieve that? No, but is it really nice? Yeah. Yeah, but so like I do have to use 2 products to kind of like achieve something closer. But Smoky Quartz on its own is a very beautiful product that gives you this like one and done smoky eye. This is just smokier. I'm gonna spray my face and apply mascara. I did not buy the Victoria Beckham mascara because I just don't like having more than one mascara open at any given time. And when I bought these products, I did not need a new mascara. And so I just forwent that. So let me do all of that and then I will be right back. Mascara's on, sprayed my face a little bit. I'm going to wipe off my lip balm and then we're going to apply some lip products. First up, we have a lip liner. So I have the shade 5 from Victoria Beckham. It's their lip definer. And then on the side where I'm using the stuff that I already have, I have a lip liner from Pat McGrath in the shade Supernatural. So the Victoria Beckham one is a little bit darker, but these have there's a big formula difference in these. Kind of like with eyeliner, I'm on a bit of a lip liner journey. I don't know if I like lip liner as much as I have been enjoying like going on the eyeliner journey. Every lip liner that I've tried, I feel like the formula is vastly different. So Pat McGrath's lip liners are incredibly firm, really firm. And I feel like it takes some time to get them on the lips. They're not like creamy and dreamy. And I know that some people like that. So I think if that's the kind of formula you're into, you might like the Pat McGrath. But the Victoria Beckham, and I've used the lip cheats from Charlotte Tilbury. The lip cheats are really, really creamy. And this Victoria Beckham one's somewhere in between. What I like about it is that there's time to buff it out. Whereas I feel like as soon as this Pat McGrath one goes on, it's like, it's there, it stays. I just feel like there's no time to buff. And that's like the one thing I hate about it, because I've seen so many people that really like to do that with their lip liner. And I was like, I can't get my lip liner to do that. I think that's just the way that Pat McGrath does her lip liners. I've seen her buff them out in her videos, but like I have never been able to really do that. But yeah, so both of them are great. The thing is do you want to buy a luxury lip liner? That's up to you. Like I think they're both nice products, but it's like one of those things I'm not like super excited to buy at any given time, like because it's not my thing, or because like a lip product's not really my thing. It's like the thing I get the most excited about in beauty, or like I'm not even like relatively excited about, even though like it can do a lot for you. It's just like lip liner is like, it's just like not the most fun. So both I could have really easily done without this. Now we're gonna finish with some lip gloss. So the lip gloss colors are as close as I could get The thing is, it's so interesting. I used to be really into lip glosses, and I've been really into cream lipsticks recently. Like that's like what I grab for first. Think of the Gucci A Royal Scandal, Natasha Denona I Need a Nude in Noah, or Merit's 1990. Like those are the three that I'm like thinking of anytime I'm putting on a face of makeup. I have been wearing the Kaleidos lip products a lot because I'm like really trying to get my head around them. Like, yeah, I just feel like I haven't worn lip gloss in a really long time, but I have, you know, been playing around with these. So this is the Victoria Beckham lip gloss in the shade Tanline. So I'm just gonna apply that really quick, but I'm gonna compare it to a Pat McGrath gloss in the shade Flesh Fantasy. So I don't know how to describe this, but I feel like the Victoria Beckham one is just so much more lacquered. Neither one of these shades have like a shimmer element to them, but like I just feel like the light hits that one more. The shades aren't a perfect match, but they're both kind of like sheer nudes. The Victoria Beckham one's a little more like yellow leaning nude, and then the one from Pat McGrath is a little more pink leaning. And I enjoy both lip glosses quite a bit, but there is quite a different experience whenever you are like using these. So Victoria Beckham comes in a glass container and it just feels really nice in the hands. And I kind of like how there's just a little more length and thinness, which is interesting. The other thing is, like I've belabored this point so many times on my channel, sometimes with Pat McGrath, you're like, how is that what you chose, right? Like there's a sticker for the emblem and it just seems like feels like a very by the numbers component, whereas like while this is certainly just a cylinder, but it's just like everything about it just is just a more enjoyable experience. Having used this I like this lip gloss more, and the reason is it kind of, I think it goes on thinner, and I do think it's shinier. Like it's just a more lacquered look in my opinion, but it's less likely to give me that white ring than the Pat McGrath one. And it's really comfortable, man. I also got a clear gloss from Victoria Beckham. It was like a gift with purchase over a certain amount. It's the ice one. And I have been kind of defaulting to this when I don't know what to do with my lips. I just put it on. I think both formulas are really good, but it's just like, yeah, so that's it. Here we are. We've made it all the way through the video and both sides of my face look exceptional. So that's a reminder to you and myself that you don't need to spend $300 to $400 on Victoria Beckham to do stuff that your makeup already can. I'm not telling you not to buy anything from Victoria Beckham. That's not the point. The point isn't to say Victoria Beckham doesn't make beautiful products. The point is to be like, if you were lusting over it, if the makeup monster inside of you was really like creeping up on you, taking a second and going like, okay, but like what do I have that can fulfill the fantasy? Because we are creatures of habit, right? There's a reason that I ended up buying Mink from Victoria Beckham and it ended up looking really close to smoky quartz because I really like smoky quartz and that's something that I'm very into. So it makes sense. This is like a me thing, but I do think that because we are creatures who we like the colors we like the finishes that we like, we tend to buy things that are very close. The makeup you have, you know how it performs. There's no gamble by using the makeup that you already have and you've already used and you already know. There's no gamble in that because you know how it's gonna perform. What if you spend $100 on the Victoria Beckham priming moisturizer and it doesn't work the same way for you that it does for me or anyone you've heard review it really well? That's the point of all of this. It's just like, our makeup's good enough. We don't always need to be chasing the high of the new thing. It's exciting, and buying new things is, of course, very fun. I wouldn't be here if I didn't enjoy it myself. So, but it's just, you know, sometimes we just need like gentle reminders. And that's what I was here to do. I gently reminded you. That wraps up the video. If you are new to my channel, hi, thank you so much for clicking and watching all the way through. I assume since you made it this far, it means you really enjoyed me. So I'd love to have you subscribe. Make sure you like this video because I really appreciate it. It helps me in the algorithm. And if you want to become a patron, that's open to you. But again, there's no pressure. Thank you to all of my wonderful, beautiful patrons for allowing me the grace and space to buy products like these Victoria Beckham ones to be able to review on my channel. I really appreciate you. And remember to follow your hote and you will find me. I will see you in the next video. I'll see you on Friday. On Friday, it's the final review of all the Victoria Beckham products. So I hope to see you there. Bye. Friend.